And Greg LeMond leads the Z team. He hopes to push Pensek into the race lead. He was the fourth man in the breakaway this morning. They ride with style on the windswept course. This is Greg LeMond in second place, wearing the colours of the reigning world champion, the rainbow jersey. Their finishing burst takes them to a time of 54 minutes and 17 seconds, but this is 5 seconds short of an excellent time by 7:11, and it will leave Steve Bauer in the yellow jersey. There's also a keen battle for the actual stage win, and this is headed by the Panasonic team from Holland. They used to be the past master of team time trialling, and they race home this time with the best time, 53 minutes 24 seconds. Raul Alcala's PDM team come close, but they are slow by having to wait for the sick Eric Breking, and they finish 7 seconds short of Panasonic. So the race then moved out of Futuroscope down to the city of Poitiers, the third stage heading northwest towards Brittany. It was a ride of 228 kilometres. Rain is forecast for this third day of racing as the 198 riders head out of town. Then, 2 hours into the stage, the peloton is again stopped by the organisers. Another demonstration, this time by agricultural workers, is blocking the road ahead. It's decided to take a 16-kilometre diversion on narrow back roads. It works, and the demonstrators have missed out. The voice of Jean-Marie Leblanc explaining that the race is temporarily neutralised. Then the rain comes, but the speed increases. Italian Moreno Argentin makes a break, and the small group behind take up the chase. But Argentin holds on to win the stage in Nantes by more than 2 minutes lead over the pack. Argentin, in the Tour de France for the first time, continues his great season. Not everyone knows that the Italian has even been clear at all, and Castorama rally rider Christophe Leven finishes and thinks he's won. Stage 4 will take the race north across the rolling hills of Brittany. A ride now of 203 kilometres to Le Mont Saint-Michel. The start is by the cathedral in Nantes, and the sun is shining again as the riders leave town. It's a pretty route too. It leads via alongside the city's canals. To the official start, indicated here by a gendarme's flag. And Laurent Fignon, in pain after a crash the day before, is already likely to become soon one of the Tour's first casualties. It's a much younger French rider, Gilles de Lyon, of the Helvetia La Suisse team, who makes the first attack. He's joined by the Belgian Edwig van Hooijdonk from the Buckler team. The pair work hard, but they are soon caught. And then there is another solo attack from Soren Lilholt of Denmark.
At Vodafone, get a refurbished iPhone 13 Pro and get the UK's only lifetime service promise at no extra cost. That's a superb refurb.
At LG, we don't make life good. We don't make dreams. We don't make surprises. We've never owned the court before breakfast, or conquered the world on horseback. We've never broken the internet like she's about to. And we definitely don't make magic. We just make the products that take you there. Because while life's good may be our belief, it's actually you who makes it so. Okay, maybe we do make a bit of magic. Life's good. LG.
A sprint, and it goes to Olaf Ludwig from the Panasonic team, 15 kilometres from the finish. As the pack regroup, dangers occur. Just behind the pack, there is a crash, and it's split into these groups. The front group of 50 pushes up the pace and fights out the finish at Mont Saint-Michel. Ludwig in green leads the charge, but he goes far too early and has totally misjudged the finish. And as the pack come to the line, it's Belgian Johan Museeuw who sprints home for the win. Ludwig finishes only third. Laurent Fignon arrived in a group over 44 seconds behind. Stage 5 is the longest stage of the race, 301 kilometres across the hills of Normandy. It wasn't to be a happy day for Laurent Fignon, who's been suffering from the early hours of the day and isn't looking forward at all to the rest of it. The Frenchman Thierry Claverola sprinting for climbing points. He does all of this before the rain actually sets in for the rest of the day. The longest stage and the wettest. The rain demoralises Laurent Fignon even more, and although his fans still write his name on the street, the two-time winner drifts to the back of the field and then finally decides to quit the 1990 Tour de France. Laurent Fignon drops away from the back of the field and searches for his team car. By the end of the day, he'd be watching the Tour de France on television. Ahead, race leader Bauer discusses tactics with his team director Noel de Jonckere. And then he goes back up to the field. The greasy roads cause several crashes, including this one with former French champion Eric Caritou of the RMO team among the fallers. Then, with more than 70 kilometres still to race, it's the Dutchman Gerrit Zolleveld from the Buckler team who breaks away alone. He rides powerfully to gain a massive lead of 10 minutes. And by the time he reaches the finish, he is still 5 minutes clear in Rouen. Another stage win for the Buckler team. Two riders then move ahead of the pack on the rain-slick streets. And again, it's the Lotto's team man, Museeuw, who's sprinting for second place. He was the winner yesterday at Mont Saint-Michel. He takes second place ahead of fellow Belgian Etienne de Wilde, while at the head of the pack, it's the East German Olaf Ludwig. On the sixth day, the riders board a plane for a 600 kilometres flight to eastern France on the German border. Race director Jean-Marie Leblanc always seems to be working. But for everybody else, including Greg LeMond, they enjoy the rest. Next day, stage 6 takes the race to the spa town of Vittel, 202.5 kilometres. It's raining again before the start, and it causes this gendarme to wave a yellow danger flag before a sharp left turn. But as the roads dry out, the speed dramatically increases. And the crosswinds cause several crashes again, including this one with rider number 68, Eric van Lanker from the Panasonic team. He's the last to get up. And another, with the Helvetia riders Jean-Claude Leclerc and Guido Winterberg among the fallers, whereas Z-Team mechanic retrieves the bike of race runner-up Ronan Pensek. It's a painful business on these opening days of the Tour de France, but the riders usually do remount and always catch up with the field. 6 men fight out the uphill finish in Vittel, where Dutchman Jelle Nijdam gives Buckler its third stage win in this opening week with a well-timed sprint finish. Jelle Nijdam, whose father Henk was a world champion back in 1961, is a clear winner, ahead of Denmark's Jesper Skibby and the consistent Johan Museeuw. The breakaway has done nothing to alter the overall lead. Only 8 seconds later, Italian Adriano Baffi of Ariostia leads in the field. Stage 7 is a time trial, an important one, 61.5 kilometres long, over hilly roads between Vitel and Epinal. Favourites like Le Monde are hoping to make up some of their 10-minute deficit here on Bauer by fitting bigger chain rings, disc wheels and much lighter tyres. In time trialling, all of the lightest equipment is employed. Every tenth of a second counts. Mechanics adjust pedals, retape handlebars and tighten spokes in the quest for more speed. These are the bicycles that cost over $4,000 a piece. The riders are also well prepared with a good warm-up, even on a damp day. The weather is still dry when Pedro Delgado awaits his turn in the start house. 1988 Tour winner is launched onto the course. He knows just how important these time trials are, deciding the eventual winner of the Tour de France. He makes the most of the conditions, storming along the road and taking risks on the descents. He's using his aerodynamic handlebars to cut through the wind to the full. He arrives at the finish in an outstanding time of 1 hour 19 minutes and 10 seconds, and that is the time to beat. This is a man who could beat it. Gianni Bugno is racing even better, and he will reach the finish 18 seconds better than Delgado. Delgado's young teammate Miguel Indurain also rides in the dry. When he gets to the finish, he will take the lead, 23 seconds better than Bugno. Back in Vitel, Le Monde has again chosen his extreme handlebars. He knows how hard he has to ride to beat Indurain, and he focuses all of his energy as he takes the countdown to his start. Despite the rain which is now falling, Greg LeMond is already catching riders who have started ahead of him. He storms through the 20 kilometres point, 12 seconds better than Indurain, and seems to be heading for victory. LeMond literally buries himself as he tries now to set the best time of the day. At the start, Alcala mounts his machine, and he sets out at a seemingly suicidal speed. Quickly into his rhythm, Alcala climbs the hills out of the saddle. And, pushing an enormous gear, Raul Alcala rides in a superb controlled style. And after only 20 kilometres, he's a stunning 45 seconds quicker than Greg LeMond. At the finish, LeMond is finishing slower than Indurain, Bugno and Delgado. While back in Vitel, the race leader, Steve Bauer, is determined to keep the yellow jersey. He's not a time trial expert, but his muscular legs hold tremendous power. Alcala is 90 seconds faster than Indurain, the best time at the arrival point. Meanwhile, Ronan Pensek sets out from Vitel, hoping he can make up the 34 seconds on Steve Bauer he needs to take over the race leader's yellow jersey. Bauer doesn't take any chances on the rain-slick turns into Epinal. And he comes into the finish with a steady 14th place. While Pensek risks everything. And he beats Bauer by 17 seconds, but it wasn't enough. Chiappucci also rides strongly to finish 15th. Overall, Bauer now leads Pensek by 17 seconds and Chiappucci here by a minute. With the Alps still 2 days away, Stage 8 gives the sprinters a last chance of a stage win. It's a ride of 181.5 kilometres. The French teams, Castorama Rally, Toshiba and RMO, are particularly active in the wet over the early kilometres. They haven't won a stage since Marie's success in the prologue. After 32 kilometres, the RMO rider Michel Vermont of Belgium breaks clear, and nobody chases him. He's fighting a strong headwind, and halfway through the stage, his lead is up to almost 12 minutes. The peloton eventually organise their pursuit. Vermont struggles in the strong wind, and after 120 kilometres alone, he's caught. And so in Besançon, 13 riders have broken clear, and with Bruno Cornier still trying for the French win. But it's the green jersey of Olaf Ludwig who sprints in to give East Germany its first ever and its last stage win in the Tour de France. 21 seconds later, the peloton arrives, led home by the sprinter Adriano Baffi of Italy. The ninth stage takes in the steep ridges of the Jura Mountains into Switzerland, between Besançon and Geneva. It's a turning point for men like Breukink, Duclos Lasalle and Ronan Pensek. And riding out of Besançon alongside the River Doubs, Pensek leads the pack with Greg LeMond. In the hills, there's an attack by the Spaniard Eduardo Chozas and the Italian Massimo Girotto. They are chased by French champion Philippe Louvio from the Toshiba team. The French are still trying for that win. On the fast descent of the Col de la Fosile, where the pack is 2 minutes behind, the two leaders race on towards the finish. Then, 15 kilometres from Geneva, another Frenchman, Christophe Leven, sets off in pursuit. Christophe was the rider who thought he'd won back in Rouen the previous week. But Chozas and Girotto are out of reach, and Girotto easily wins the stage on the shores of Lac Le Mans. Leven stays clear of the pack though, and he takes third place. He's followed home by Danish champion Brian Holm, Louvio and the Swiss rider Yogi Muller. Then by a group led home by Gilles de Lyon. And finally, 37 seconds late, Museo sprints in at the head of the main field. What a sprinter this man is turning out to be. The whole field winds into Geneva for a very brief stay in Switzerland. Steve Bauer still wears the yellow jersey before stage 10, which takes them off towards the Alps. It's a ride of 118.5 kilometres to the base of the beautiful Mont Blanc. The peloton at first seem reluctant to leave Geneva, and they ride slowly past the city's most famous lake. The first climb sees an immediate attack. It's led by Roberto Conti of Ariostia, Cornier of Z, and Omar Hernandez of Postobon, and with them Patrick Robit of the Weinmann team. The pack starts to split up. Ahead TVM rider Jesper Skibby is dropped from the leading breakaway. And the sprinter Olaf Ludwig is also dropped at the back. Eric Breukink is feeling better today, and he animates the pursuit. From the pack, a small group emerges. It features Raoul Alcala on the far side, Charlie Motte nearest, and the boy in black there, the Belgian Claude Coquillon. This is Stephen Roach. An attack comes from the 1987 winner of the Tour de France, but he's chased all of the way by Z Team's Robert Miller. In front, French climber Thierry Claverola of Motte's RMO team, Conti and Rabit. Three of them work well together. By the summit of the Col de Colombière, Claverola is clear on his own. Roberto Conti is in second place, and this is Robert Miller who leads the pack. Ahead of Dutchman Steven Rooks, Colombian Fabio Parra, Alcala, Belgian Johan Bruneel. Then comes Roach, and this is America's Andy Hampston. Pensek is here as well. And the tall Indurain zips up his collar for the cold descent. The descent is a fast one. The riders touching 80 kilometers an hour, but the pack soon climbing again, led here by Eric van Lanker and Charlie Motte on the right. Ahead, Motte's teammate Clavarola gains with every pedal stroke. He's riding like a man inspired. And at the Aravis summit, he's 2 minutes ahead of the pack. Roberto Conti is still chasing from the second place here. But the main group is led by Claudio Chiappucci, and they are not now very far behind. Clavarola speeds downhill to the village of Fume, while Conti is soon caught by the chase group. This group contains all of the favourites, no one is missing. A counter-attack containing Motte develops on the flat roads. We're 10 kilometres now before the uphill finish at Saint-Gervais. And this final climb proves fatal to Steve Bauer, the race leader. Bauer is dropped by the group containing his immediate challengers, Pensek and Chiappucci. The Spaniard Marino Lejarreta of the Once team sets the pace of the favourites group. Alcala's here, Delgado, Stephen Rux, Ronan Pensek and Eric Breking. And further ahead, Motte has dropped all of the counter-attackers, except East German Uwe Ampler of the PDM team. But no one can catch Clavarola, who reaches the 4,600-foot summit finish at Le Betex with almost 2 minutes to spare. A tremendous ride by Clavarola, and behind him it's Uwe Ampler and Charlie Motte who fight for the second place, with the East German just getting it. Delgado made a late counter-attack with Pensek, Lejarreta and the youthful de Leon at the back here. Delgado was fourth in this group. And although Pensek dropped back to the next group, he managed to gain enough time to take over the yellow jersey from Steve Bauer. So Ronan Pensek, as all the French would like, was now leading the Tour de France.
But on the major leaders in the Tour, Delgado and Le Monde, you haven't lost a great deal.
Well, they still have to make up a lot of time, and I'm still in the bike race. I lost the yellow jersey today, but there's no means, completely out of the race, and I'm still gonna push myself, and I'm still in the race. So, tomorrow's another day.
You lost the yellow jersey today, but will we see you in it again before we get back into the mountains?
Never know. Never know.
And how do you feel about losing the yellow jersey? You've lost it before.
Well, I think instead of losing it, I have to think about the 10 days that I kept it, and that's a great souvenir for my career. And if I can get it back, I'll get it back. If not, then I'll do my best race.
Bauer is now down to third place overall behind Ronan Pensek and Claudio Chiappucci. Going into stage 11. It's the toughest stage with 16,000 feet of climbing over the Col de la Madeleine and the Glandon passes, leading to Alpe d'Huez. It's 182.5 kilometers. With long, steep gradients ahead, mechanics have fitted especially low gears.
Comment se sent-on en jaune?
Climbing is the speciality of race leader Pensek, who tells reporters, it's great to be in the yellow jersey, especially for the climbs to Alpe d'Huez. There are many anxious faces among the 180 riders, and 9 of them will have quit the race by the day's end. Approaching the Madeleine Pass, nervous riders touch wheels, and Colombian William Palacio falls down, with the 5th place, Raul Alcala. The Madeleine is 25 kilometers long, but a brisk pace is set by Johan Brunel of the Lotto team, and in the white, Charlie Motte of the French RMO squad. Alberto Volpi is the other rider on the far right. About 50 riders are still together as the summit finally appears into view. Riding strongly near the front is the rainbow jersey of the world champion Greg LeMond. And also looking comfortable is the man in the red spotted jersey, the leading climber, Claverola. He's followed by Rooks and the race leader, Pensek. Into the final kilometre of the climb, only 35 riders remain in the front group. Over the 6,400 feet summit, Claverola sprints clear. 7 seconds later, he's followed over the top by the Spanish rider Miguel Indurain, and just behind by Quillion and the rest of the leading group. After passing Claverola on the Madeleine descent, Indurain starts the Glandon climb 35 seconds ahead of the Frenchman and a minute ahead of the main group. Claverola takes advice from his team director Bernard Vallet, who as a rider once won the King of the Mountains, in fact in the 1982 Tour de France. Behind, the group is led by the Belgians Brunel and Quillion, the yellow jersey of Ronan Pensek, Claudio Chiappucci, Charlie Motte and Greg LeMond, who's back in the group after falling and dislocating a finger at a feeding station. This is the other American, Andy Hampston, the 7-11 team, and also here too is the Irishman Sean Kelly. Rider number 41, the Spaniard Marino Lajaretta. Claverola is now 3 minutes in front and has caught Miguel Indurain. While behind, Le Mans Z team keeps the pace steady, led by Norwegian Atle Volsvold, Frenchman Cornier and Jerome Simon, and Robert Miller. Le Mans has a good team with him this year. Approaching the Glandon summit, Claverola has dropped Indurain, and the new King of the Mountains leader beats out a steady rhythm of climbing. One complete turn of the pedals every second. To an enormous cheer, Teddy Claverola goes over the top of the climb. He's a local favourite, and he's carved out a lead of 82 seconds. The man who is behind Teddy Claverola, it's still Miguel Indurain. 3.5 minutes behind the leader, the main group comes up towards the summit of the Glandon, where they're led by a sprinting Chiappucci. Just like yesterday, Claverola is again out in front by himself. On the long downhill, Claverola is pursued by Indurain, the more talented descender of the two. But Indurain has been caught by LeMond, Bunyau and Pedro Delgado. While the brave Claverola continues his solo escapade, but he'll soon be caught. The chase is led by Indurain, working for his team leader, Pedro Delgado. This is Delgado. The benefit of having a man on your team in the chase group. Greg LeMond has to defend the interest of his teammate as well, Ronan Pensek, and he follows the breakaway. Indurain keeps up the ferocious pace ahead of the opportunist Gianni Bunyau. His eyes are on a stage win in the finish at Alpe d'Huez. Claverola will soon be caught by this breakaway group. in which the stylish Indurain is doing the work of two men on this windswept road. Bunyo follows, and so too does Indurain's teammate Delgado. Indurain is doing all of the pulling for Delgado, whose turn will come on the final climb. Neither Tour of Italy winner Gianni Bunyo nor the ambitious Eduardo Chozas is helping Indurain, while Greg LeMond still follows as well. And Thierry Claverola tries to recuperate from his long solo break. 2 minutes behind, Sean Kelly leads the chase with teammate Eric Breukink, while the yellow jersey of Pensek simply follows. Then in Bourg-Bazin, with the Alpe d'Huez climb in sight ahead, Indurain finally sits up and drops away, leaving the other five to battle out the stage. Delgado immediately takes charge on the climb, pressurising Bunyo, Chozas, LeMond and Claverola. 2.5 minutes behind, Robert Miller and Claude Coquillon leads the chase for Pensek, as Breukink follows on comfortably behind them all. Claverola cannot keep pace on this steepest part of the 13 kilometres climb, and he too falls back. This leaves just Bunyo and LeMond in Delgado's wake. Behind, Indurain is caught and passed by the chase group. It's still being headed by Claude Coquillon, while Chiappucci, Colombian rider Abelardo Rondon and Pensek look quite at ease. Robert Miller rides particularly hard, followed by his teammate Pensek, Coquillon and Andy Hampsten. Pensek is defending his yellow jersey with energy and honour, focusing totally on the slim figure ahead of him, of a seemingly tireless Robert Miller. Remarkably, Claverola is catching back to the leaders. Delgado has suddenly tired, while Greg LeMond still follows and Bunyo still waits. The Alpe d'Huez climb is seeing yet another epic battle. Eric Breukink has ridden away from the chasers. And 3 kilometres from the summit, after a magnificent chase, he catches the four leaders. Behind, Andy Hampsten is showing his best climbing form for years, as Pensek hangs on at the back. At the front, Delgado is also dropped, as Breukink increases the pace. Poor Claverola is struggling again. And this leaves only Bunyo and Greg LeMond on the wheel of Breukink. And as the leaders head into Alpe d'Huez, the Tour is again taking a decisive turn. Thierry Claverola fights back yet again into contention, but he's dropped once more, as another acceleration by Breukink can only be followed by Greg LeMond and Gianni Bunyo. They all want to win this most prestigious of stages. 1 kilometre from the finish now. The Colombian Fabio Parra is also catching up. Breukink still leads and turns to see who's still with him. Parra continues to approach Thierry Claverola, and Pensek still follows Miller and Claude Coquillon. Through the ski village of Alpe d'Huez, this is now a classic battle. The three leaders are preparing their finishing effort and slow down. And Thierry Claverola, again he sprints up to join them. Parra joins the leaders as well. 5 men head into the final corner, where LeMond dives between Bunyo and Breukink and almost falls. LeMond manages to correct himself, and he leads out the sprint from Bunyo. The others are beaten. At first, Le Monde appears to be winning. But as the finish line approaches, Gianni Bugno is just too strong and takes Le Monde right on the line. He's the first Italian winner here since 1952. Crowd flock around the world's #1, Greg LeMond. But if you look at world rankings, you'll find that honour really belongs to Gianni Bugno. Bugno may have been the winner, but LeMond always attracts the media attention. They know that the American is now up to 3rd place overall, and is starting again to look like a potential winner of this tour. Greg LeMond loses his temper with a reporter, telling him not to touch him. He'll answer questions only after he's cleaned up. Delgado's teammate, Rondon, leads Andy Hampston and his team leader up the final slope. And the exhausted Delgado loses only 40 seconds to Le Monde. It could have been a lot worse. And for Andy Hampston, it was for him a very good day on Alpe d'Huez. And for the veteran, Claudio Quillon, while Pensek has exceeded all hopes by extending his overall lead over Claudio Chiappucci. He hasn't finished yet, while teammate Greg LeMond is still 9 minutes behind on overall time. Could Pensek now be the new hero that French cycling has been seeking? Gianni Bugno too has proved himself. And LeMond?
Is this the kind of Alpe d'Huez ride you knew you had inside of you?
Well, I wasn't certain of it, but I've been feeling really good. I crashed for the second last climb, and I didn't think I'd be that good on the climbs. But kind of went into, not shock, but it shook me up quite a bit.
Tell me about the last 3 kilometers.
Well, we were starting out on the climb. Pedro Delgado did all the pacing. I mean, I felt really good, and I had to do my work as a teammate. We have the lead, and it was only better that I didn't ride. But I felt kind of sorry for Pedro because he really rode strong, and we were practically standing still towards the last 5 kilometers, last 2 kilometers. And the main thing is I wanted to win the stage, and I was trying to control everybody, and almost went down the last corner and had too big of a gear and let up too long and lost the stage. It's good for our team. I think we should be first and second. It's good Tour de France.
Were you and Delgado working together in a sense today?
No. You've got team orders. I wasn't allowed to work, but it didn't really make. The last climb it made a lot of difference between Pedro lost 40 seconds, and we probably could have gained minutes over everybody else had I worked and Bugno worked. But everybody was wanting to win the stage and was too afraid to do more work than the other guy.
Earlier in the day, you had a crash.
Yeah, I crashed. Dislocated my middle finger. I had to pull it out.
And that made a difference when you almost slipped in the last turn.
Well, yeah, I went to pull on my brakes and my fingers locked up. It was straight, I couldn't bend it. And that's why I couldn't hit my brakes well enough. So I almost went down the last 300 meters.
And now what are you expecting for the time trial tomorrow?
I don't know. No time trials aren't my specialty. I hope to have a good one, but I don't expect to win. I expect to be close.
You have a superstition about the Alpe d'Huez stage.
Well, I said it's not so bad that I lost because it's always been the tradition that if you win Alpe d'Huez, you don't win the Tour de France. So it's maybe a good point. It's like second, maybe still a possibility of winning. If not, we've won the races as a team. Thank you very much.
Well, Le Monde can now focus on tomorrow's vital time trial near Grenoble. The course climbs for 13 kilometers through 2,000 vertical feet to a plateau, and it ends with another sharp climb near Villard de Lans. It's a ride of 33.5 kilometers. This is Marina Lajaretta, one of the dark horses, who sets out with great determination. The 34 years old Spaniard is one of the best climbers in the world. He loves the Tour de France as well. Larretta's time is easily the fastest so far, and he catches several riders on his way. At the finish, he records 57 minutes 46 seconds, lifting him into the top 10 overall. Meanwhile, out on the course, Indurain is another favourite for the stage, despite having lost 12 minutes at Alpe d'Huez, where he sacrificed his Tour chance for Delgado. With 1 kilometre to go, he's a few seconds ahead of Larreta. And he finishes just 9 seconds quicker. Indurain's teammate Delgado won a time trial like this in his winning 1988 Tour. And he's putting in a similar effort this time for a possible repeat performance. By the time he finishes, he'll be leading by 13 seconds. One rider hoping to better Delgado's time is Greg LeMond, who, against his instinct, is using a disc wheel for the hill climb. The American does indeed struggle on the longest climb and is 20 seconds slower than Delgado at this point after 22 kilometres. LeMond makes use of his aero bars and disc wheel on the flat, but he toils up the final steep gradient. And at the line, he falls short by 26 seconds of Delgado's time. The world champion's not interested now in talking to the media. Only Eric Breking can now displace Pedro Delgado. The Dutchman is a smooth, powerful peddler, whose poker face doesn't reveal the energy he expends. Eric Breking finishes in 56 minutes 52 seconds, the best time by 30 seconds. Now comes the battle for the yellow jersey. Claudio Chiappucci has to make up 88 seconds to overcome Ronan Pensek. The 27 years old Italian has a jerky style, but nonetheless, he is climbing very quickly. He confidently tackles the final hill, and then he sprints across the finishing line in 57 minutes 57 seconds, the 8th best time. But is it too good for Pensek? The yellow jersey is labouring up the final climb. Unlike on Alpe d'Huez, the weight on his shoulders today was just too much. Ronan Pensek finishes 49th. He's lost almost 3 minutes to Claudio Chiappucci, and the yellow jersey has gone in this Tour de France for good. It's the first yellow jersey for Italy in 20 years. Chiappucci has emerged from the Alps with a 7 minutes lead over the favourites. That's an enormous gap. Defending the leader's jersey now is new to Chiappucci, and his Carrera team will need to be careful on this hilly 13th stage from Villard de Lans to Saint-Étienne. The field are happy to be going away from the steep climbs of the Alps. Frenchman Laurent Biondy is one rider, though, who needs attention from the race doctor. He's suffering from heat sickness and takes a pill to steady his dizziness. The Tour de France has a tremendous backup team. The only thing the doctors can't do is ride the bicycle. A Carrera rider crashes, and with him a rider from Helvetia La Suisse is also down. And Dutchman Martin Ducrot needs a pain-killing spray after another crash. In the pack, Claudio Chiappucci moves up, shadowed by Miguel Indurain. The race leader is nervous about a 30-man breakaway which contains Ronan Pensek, and it's gained 90 seconds. His yellow jersey endangered, Kierpucci joins his teammates to chase down the dangerous move. Needs a tremendous effort under the midday sun. Greg LeMond counter-attacks with Indurain, Hampsten and Eric Breking, and they soon pass the remnants of the breakaway. Surprised by the attack, Delgado and Bunyo chase desperately with Lataretta. They're already 90 seconds behind. Miguel Indurain is told to wait. He takes a quick drink first. In front, Hampsten comfortably follows Eduardo Chozas, Eric Breking, and the energetic Greg LeMond. The defending Tour champion knows that he has to make up every second and minute he can on the precocious Kierpucci. Approaching the summit of the Croix de Chauveret climb, LeMond still leads Breking, Hampsten, Chozas, and Roberto Conti. Behind, Indurain has closed the gap to only 20 seconds and momentarily sits up to wave Bunyo, Delgado, and Lajaretta through. Back down the mountainside, an exhausted Kierpucci is all alone, with no teammates strong enough to help him now. And at the top, the yellow jersey leads a small group more than 4 minutes behind. In front, Greg LeMond piles on the pressure. He now has a chance to take time out of Kierpucci. While Indurain again leads the chasers at 60 miles an hour on the swerving descent towards Saint-Étienne. LeMond rides flat out all of the way to the finish, where he's content to watch his companions fight out the stage result. And that goes to Eduardo Chozas on the left from Eric Breking. LeMond's attack has blown the race wide open. Kierpucci is almost 5 minutes behind. Pensek nearly 8.
What was the situation with you and Delgado? What were you aware of in terms of you two during particularly the end of the race?
Delgado, I wasn't sure how much we had in front of him. I had no idea until I finished the race how much time I had on Delgado.
And with regard to Pensek today?
I wasn't paying attention. I was thinking of eliminating Kierpucci, and Delgado was behind. A lot of riders were behind.
You intended coming into this race to ride it hard and make everyone else ride a hard race. Did you do it to your satisfaction?
Oh, I think there's some people who are suffering today. Yeah.
And how about you?
Oh no, I felt great. I mean, I felt great until last 2 kilometers. I just all of a sudden ran out of liquids. I got like what we call the bonk. Just the last 2 kilometers.
And how important, though, was it for you to win this stage?
I don't even think about winning this stage. I'm thinking about winning the Tour de France.
So what about tomorrow?
Another day that's going to be difficult. I mean, these days are very dangerous. It's really hot, hard. Anything can happen. But I'm confident I'll be good tomorrow, too.
Were the mountain climbs harder today because of the heat?
Oh, I'm sure that it wasn't a hard climb. It was made the day harder, yeah. Again, I think a lot of people were dehydrated. I was getting there at the end.
Thanks, Greg.
I feel.
Yeah, you seem a little bit spaced.
I am. I'm like out of oxygen. It's like dizzy. I want to get out of here.
Thanks, Greg.
The 14th stage traverses the hills of central France to a mountain-top finish at Millau. It's a ride of 205 kilometres. The start is at the medieval town of Le Puy, complete with a firing cannon. The 168 survivors climb away from the town, facing 5 hours again in the saddle. The attacks soon begin, with 5 breaks developing in the opening half of the stage. There is a long descent into the Tarn Gorge with 60 kilometres to go. Where the peloton is still riding slowly, crossing the river and heading downstream towards Miao. Frenchman Jean-Claude Bagot has broken clear of the front group. He hopes for a stage win. But the peloton behind has finally started to move. Descending quicker than most, the Italian rider Bruno Kengialta catches up with Jean-Claude Bagot. And together they start to work. French champion Philippe Louvio also tries to catch the leaders. But the pack is getting closer as the final finishing climb approaches. And as Volkswagen leads team leader Greg LeMond up the mountain at Miao, the breakaways have been wiped out. The pack is together at the front. It's a long climb to the finish. A sudden attack comes from the normally passive La Diretta, and he puts in a massive effort. He doesn't know whether there are riders still ahead of him or not. This charismatic Basque rider once had a fan protect him from the rain on the Spanish climb by running alongside him, holding an umbrella. But today, La Diretta needs no help at all. Look over his shoulder and the gap is there. La Diretta decides to keep going. There's a chase from behind by Gianni Bugno and that man, Miguel Indurain, having a marvellous Tour de France. Then comes a Colombian, William Palacio. He also takes up the pursuit. And the small group behind has again dropped Claudio Chiappucci, the yellow jersey. Greg LeMond and Delgado step on the gas together. And they are followed by Palacio and the rest of the pack. Raul Alcala is the last rider of the group. By the finish, Marino Lajaretta has stayed away on his own, but he still believes there are other riders in front of him, and he forgoes the normal victory salute. 24 seconds later, Miguel Indurain rides away from Bugno to take second, while Alcala sprints from the back to take fourth from LeMond and Breking. So to stage 15, the roads are flatter as the riders face 170 kilometres from Millau to Revel. This area in the south of France is steeped in history from Roman times. For the riders, there is no initial need to hurry, as the next battleground for LeMond, Chiappucci, Delgado and Breking is the upcoming Pyrenees. On the lesser climbs, the battle still remains, though, for points in the King of the Mountains title. But for a while, the field in general rolls along together. Charlie Motte, who lost his chance of winning this race in the Alps, is anxious to show himself as a stage contender at least. And the Frenchman attacks at every opportunity, attempting to start a breakaway move that might help him win the day. Caught, Motte keeps the pressure on and is soon ahead again. This time he has a strong ally in his teammate and King of the Mountains leader, Thierry Claverola. Claverola continues to enjoy a great tour as well. Tour leaders watch from afar as Motte's group gains ground. "30 kilometres from Revel, Motte breaks clear alone, loading up with drink for the final push to the finish. Charlie Motte finished second, this year's Tour of Italy, hence the reason for making him a pre-tour favourite. He's also one of the finest riders when racing alone at speed, and his lead quickly builds to over 3 minutes. The Tour leaders have no longer any interest in Charlie Motte, so he continues to gain time. He plays to an enormous crowd on top of the last climb of the day. France and Motte were finally enjoying a great day out. He arrives at the finish over 2 minutes in front, with no change overall among the leaders, except that a split in the field near the end has given Chiappucci a bonus of a few seconds gain over Greg LeMond. Low cloud, green countryside and a chill wind. It has to be the beautiful Pyrenees that tower above France and Spain. And it's here where those with thoughts of victory must now prove their qualifications. It's all uphill from Blagnac via the Col d'Aspin and the Col de Tourmalet to Luz-Ardidon. A ride of 215 kilometres, and not surprisingly, Claudio Chiappucci fuels up for a day he knows will be both testing and painful. The first challenge is the Col d'Aspin, the lowest of the day's climbs, usually a stepping stone of no great difficulty. But today things are different. A small group of riders is ahead, and while the field behind questions the move, even thinking of it as suicide, Chiappucci, the race leader, is acting just like that, a race leader. He sets a tough pace. Chiappucci was not interested in the help of the lesser men who had taken up the challenge with him. For days, everyone had talked about this stage and how much time the Italian would lose. No one had expected this, least of all the other Tour hopefuls who kept up a rhythm behind without too much effort yet. Chiappucci, since that first day breakaway, has warmed to the feeling of wearing yellow. If he was going to lose this race, he intended to do so in the finest traditions of the Tour de France. The attack was on, and the decision was now for others to make. Relentlessly, Chiappucci kept the pressure on as he raced through the corridor of people towards the top of the Col d'Aspin. He gives way only for the sprinters to snatch the mountain points. He has a far bigger prize in mind. His lead over the first climb is just 34 seconds as he and his group of 10 begin the race down towards the base of the Col de Tourmalet. Goodness knows what Chiappucci's breakaway companions are thinking, but the yellow jersey now has a lead of over a minute, and the Tour is taking on a new dimension. Greg LeMond, his racing jersey wide open, must be wondering too what is happening. Surely Chiappucci can't keep up such an attack, and he fights to limit the gains with 2 mountains still to come. The Col de Tourmalet, a brute of a climb that just goes up and up. It's here where LeMond and the other leaders hope that Chiappucci will prove the error of his attack. But at the start of the climb, his lead is up to almost 3 minutes. Claudio Coquillon, the champion of Belgium, is also having a great tour, but there is still no sign of the names expected at the front. On through the mountain resort of La Mongie, and Chiappucci, his group thinning out, is left now with only the Belgian Johan Bruneel and the Italian Roberto Conti. Neither rider has a chance of winning the Tour de France, but they are both proving to be valuable allies to Chiappucci. Pedro Delgado, riding on the edge of his own country, is being forced to follow rather than lead on his favourite terrain. He relies on teammate Miguel Indurain, while Greg LeMond relies on his teammate Bruno Cornier. The The chase seems at last to be beginning. Spaniard Miguel Martinez Torres avoids the confusion by going ahead of Chiappucci's group by himself. Chiappucci, out in front since the start of the Aspan, still has Brunel and 3 other riders for company. But when you are the race leader, you tend to have to do all of the work, while Greg LeMond here and Pedro Delgado rely on their teammates to set the pace. Another huge crowd on the summit of the Tourmalet sees Martinez Torres climbing to a 3-minute advantage. It wasn't quite the name the crowd expected to see, but as many are Spanish here anyway, the nationality is pleasing them. This gives you an idea as to just how steep the final corners of the Tourmalet are, and Torres climbs it very well. The newspaper, by the way, is not for a read on the way down. It's for keeping the cold wind off of the chest. The riders continue to climb the mountain, but still there are the top names not evident. Just the riders who escaped in the early breakaway with Chiappucci. As so often happens when the champion leads the attack, other riders tend to slip away off the front. So unusually, the top names in this Tour de France were still to pass over the summit. A long, hard road to the top of the Col de Tourmalet. Chiappucci was still riding behind as the leaders go over the top. The yellow jersey, still with Conti, Brunel, Regis Simon, reaches the top. Just the descent, and then the last climb and the finish to come. Conti outsprints Chiappucci for the banner. Behind, Thierry Claverolas scores well again to consolidate his lead in the King of the Mountains competition. Last year, the Frenchman was forced out of the Tour de France when he crashed while leading in the same competition. More than 2 minutes later, the elite group heads towards the summit, led by Marino Lajareta on the left and the tall Miguel Indurain. Delgado is in the centre, and LeMond tracks the back wheel of Indurain on the right. Others in the group include Fabio Parra from Colombia and Dmitriev Konishev, the fast-improving Soviet rider. Indurain is a revelation in this Tour de France. Surely now he must regret having played such an unselfish role in the Alps to help Delgado. The group goes over the top knowing that the chase must be fast and determined if Chiappucci, the brilliant Chiappucci, is to be brought back to heel. Miguel Martinez Torres has no illusions of winning the Tour de France, just a stage. He is far too far behind overall. While Greg LeMond launches the attack on the descent to cut back the lead of Chiappucci, now only just ahead. The chase downhill lasts for more than 20 minutes at speeds of 90 kilometers an hour. The checks indicate, though, that Chiappucci will soon be caught, and so he is. At the base of the final climb, the yellow jersey is caught after an attack that will find a place in the colourful history of the Tour de France. Chiappucci still sits at the front of the reformed field as the final climb begins, but now he has the most feared names alongside him, except that of Eric Breking, who's had a mechanical problem and a bad day in the Pyrenees. Greg LeMond has chased for most of the day. He has now caught his quarry, the race leader, the maillot jaune, and he sits and watches him. The face of LeMond gives nothing away. It appears he's climbing very well indeed. Chiappucci is trailed by Miguel Indurain, Greg LeMond, Pedro Delgado and Claude Coquillon. Nobody's really interested in the poor old Miguel Torres, who still rides just ahead thinking of the stage winning. And nobody wants to help either the maillot jaune. Fabio Parra attacks on the right, and Greg LeMond is the first to react. Marino Lajareta takes LeMond's wheel. Conti follows, and soon everybody has moved across the road. There's one man, though, who finds he can't. The yellow jersey of Claudio Chiappucci is falling back. The gamble of the day appears now to have been the biggest mistake. As the group containing Greg LeMond and all the Tour favourites except Eric Birking goes clear, Claudio Chiappucci is now having to fight to keep the race lead. The only thing in his favour is the time he holds in hand over the riders going ahead of him. Round a hairpin bend, the LeMond group rapidly go away. At last, Greg LeMond has got the move he was looking for, a chance to distance the man in yellow. The world champion, who started the season so badly, so out of form, was finding it on the day that mattered most, the road to Les Ardennes. Cathy LeMond watches on television on the peak summit. And what she sees is what she hoped she would see. Her husband Greg driving the pace. Miguel Indurain, Marina Lajareta are the only two riders now who have matched the speed of Greg LeMond. Surprisingly, Pedro Delgado has dropped away. But Delgado hasn't dropped away quite as far as the yellow jersey of Claudio Chiappucci. He still lived in hope he would lead the Tour by the end of the day. This is Delgado trying desperately now to salvage a few seconds before the finish. He breaks away from Claude Coquillon and Andy Hampston. But Bruno Fournier finds the strength from somewhere to catch up with Delgado. The mountains should have been the favourite hunting ground for Pedro, as they were when he won the Tour de France back in 1988. But he hasn't produced the same form this year. Greg LeMond was receiving absolutely no help at all from the two Spanish riders, Lajareta and at the back, Miguel Indurain. They had no intention of helping him either. They were searching, in fact, just for the stage win here on the Spanish borders. After all the flags were the Basque variety. LeMond was thinking now in terms of seconds. Every second he gained over the field meant a second closer to the maillot jaune of the Tour de France. And so, with 3 kilometres to go, Lajareta was dropped off the back, while Lajareta's teammate, Miguel Martinez Torres, was finally caught. He'd been off the front. Now there was nobody in front of these two riders. It was purely a matter of which one would win and how much time they would gain over the yellow jersey. Further down the mountain, the yellow jersey was still in serious trouble. Towards the top, Greg LeMond was riding with an inspiration he'd never shown before in this year's Tour de France. And surely, too, Miguel Indurain was badly regretting now waiting for his teammate Pedro Delgado down in the valley road towards the climb of Alpe d'Huez, because had he not lost so much time on that day, he might have been a real challenger now to Greg LeMond and Claudio Chiappucci. Les Ardennes was becoming one of the most famous climbs in the Tour de France, just like Alpe d'Huez did in the last decade. Just look at the people here now. They had come from far and wide. This was a great festive day, but it was above all the day that they thought the Tour de France would be decided. And we'd have to wait for the clock to start counting before anybody could say that. Into the last few kilometres for the two leaders. Claudio Quillon was trying desperately now to drop even Pedro Delgado, while behind them all was the yellow jersey, still toiling and suffering, of Chiappucci. No help at all for Greg LeMond. He was having to win this Tour de France purely on his own strength, if indeed he was going to win it. LeMond knew he needed time and needed it on this climb, because tomorrow there is no great climbs on the course. He would leave just one time trial before the finish in Paris. He needed time, and he needed it now over Claudio Chiappucci. He was not concerned about the stage victory, and quite clearly that most certainly was in the mind of Miguel Indurain, who was waiting for his moment. But he didn't fancy water over the back of his neck either. The finish is as high as you can see. There are still a few uphill slopes to come. You never see them through this crowd. And the cheers were still there too for Claudio Chiappucci. For anybody watching it on television all day, they know just what a great ride he put in. Crowd narrowed the road down to just the width of a car. Greg LeMond picks his way through and never once turns round to ask Indurain for help. To the final bend, at last Miguel Indurain lines up for the finish. Greg LeMond is grateful for his back wheel, but not for long. Indurain applies the pressure, just enough to crack the world champion. Greg LeMond's pacemaking up the hill had been formidable. Indurain now was thinking only of the stage victory. To remind you on a little bit, the battle between Greg LeMond
Okay,
and
so 10 meters distance between the two of
on
them.
top of the Col de
We're listening to the race now.
Yeah. Then, of course, it was Fignon going clear. This time, it was Indurain. Round the final bend, the finish banner was in sight, and after 7 hours of riding at an incredible average speed of 39 kilometers an hour, the Spaniard Miguel Indurain wins this classic stage. Greg LeMond arrived just 6 seconds behind him. And then the media move in.
Yeah, ends up being about 15 meters distance between the two of them. Greg's on very, very low cadence.
Colombien, pareil, il y a maintenant 1 minute et 7 secondes que Miguel Indurain a franchi la ligne d'arrivée. Voilà Fabio Parra qui termine avec un retard.
Claudio Quillon came in as well. Marina Lagiretta had finished third. Martinez Torres had taken fourth place. Still no sign, though, of the yellow jersey. Had Greg LeMond taken the race lead? The clock was counting down. Claudio Chiappucci was alone now. He'd been alone for most of the day, really, because nobody had been willing to help him. He sprinted up to the line with the clock still counting down, and when he crossed it, he'd kept his yellow jersey by just 5 seconds.
Non, je me sens très très bon.
Greg, you're just 5 seconds behind the jersey. Do you think perfect the jersey now?
It's not one until the time trial, but it looks very good.
Well, you know the time trial. You know the time trial at Lac de Bassivière because you won there in '85.
5 seconds. You lost the maillot jaune. Oui, mais c'est pas grave.
It's the end of the year.
Okay.
So, Greg, you know the time trial in Lac de Bassivière. You must feel confident.
I feel very confident. I think I can beat Cappuccino. If I can't, then I don't deserve to win.
5 seconds separating you and the yellow jersey right now, Greg.
I think I'm very confident I can win because I know I'm better than Cappuccino time trials. The last one's especially good for me, and I feel totally fresh.
Was your strategy just constant attack at the finish?
Well, I wasn't sure how everybody felt. I tell you, I went into the stage I thought all I had to do was follow Delgado. I thought Delgado would be the one who attacked. But when I saw Cappuccino was gone in a break and nobody responded on the Tourmalet, I said, we're going to let him go. And I said, it's all or nothing. And glad I did it because I think I killed Delgado. He had to come back to me. And we raced a race that was superb with the team.
Did you think the Tour de France might be won today in this stage?
It's won today. It's not over to Champs-Élysées, but if I want to win, it's won today, no doubt. I can't say what the percentage, but it's a very, very good percentage that I'm going to maybe win.
Thank you.
So we go on. The 18th of July, the roads are a little bit flatter, 150 kilometres, taking them from Lourdes across to Pau. Normally in the Tour de France, Pau is the gateway to the Pyrenees. This time, it was the way out. Before leaving the religious centre of France, the riders did a circuit of the city. The major climb of the day, the Col de Marie Blanc. But as soon as the race got underway, the radio tour was announcing riders giving up, and they announced the abandon of the rider Guido Winterberg. There'll be more of those this day as well. But still in the yellow jersey, Claudio Chiappucci, who survived his most difficult day to keep his lead by just 5 seconds. Remember the day when it was once 10 minutes? Climb of the Col de la Marie Blanc, the crowds again had turned out in their tens of thousands. They were waiting for the moment when the yellow jersey would change shoulders. But this time, the field, in the beginning at least, stayed largely together. The yellow jersey riding well, never far from the race lead. There were always those willing to test, to attack, and hope they could escape. There was really now only a handful of riders left in this race for the final kill in Paris. Others were looking for the stage win. After all, every day was a big prize day if you could win the prize money. Over the top of the Col de la Marie Blanc, the field were all together. All that mattered, that was. Greg LeMond was feeling in buoyant mood. 5 seconds off the lead, and no pressure yet to defend the yellow jersey. That was still the priority of Claudio Chiappucci. But this day wasn't to be quite as simple as that. There are other things in the world apart from the human body, like punctures. Greg LeMond was going to get one very shortly that could well change the face of this Tour de France. On the way down the Marie Blanc, Greg LeMond has a flat tyre. He is now in big trouble. He was left on the roadside with no team around him, no team car to help him, and he stood there for 3 minutes. The field ahead raced on. Eric Breking was now having a chance to pull back time he'd lost earlier in the Pyrenees. Marino Ladiretta was still a real challenger in this race. Andy Hampston, who wouldn't attack Greg LeMond necessarily, was now in the front group as well. Gilles de Lyon. They were all here now, all thinking of gaining ground over the bad luck of Greg LeMond. Pedro Delgado was driving the pace too. Zimmerman, Massimo Girotto, all of the teammates here of Claudio Chiappucci were driving the pace. Strangely, at the time of the puncture, there had been a small breakaway, and Le Mond's teammates were in that leading group. They'd now been ordered back to await their stricken leader. They're not allowed to turn round and go back towards the race. That is totally against the rules. So they were ordered to stop and wait on the roadside by the team manager, Roger Leger. Le Mans comes up at high speed. His team now were dragging him back into the race. It was a marvellous exhibition of team riding. Greg LeMond was being paced back up to the lead pack of Claudio Chiappucci by his teammates. Had this happened a year ago, LeMond may never have rejoined the leaders because only one rider in his team finished alongside him, Johan Lammerts. So, on a day when LeMond got a scare, he came back into the race leader frame. And then the little men were allowed the chance to win the stage. It's always